Hey guys, welcome to Coding Spot and welcome back to a new tutorial. This time I'm gonna be showing you how to code this exact WhatsApp web clone application. Now before we start coding it, I wanna be clear that this is a front-end project. So this is not a fully functional WhatsApp, as we are not gonna be implementing the backend. We're not gonna be able to persist data, we're not gonna be able to create a new chat or to delete chats, or any other functionality that requires of a backend. However, we do have some basic functionalities, so let me show you. We're gonna be able to filter the unread chats. We're also gonna be able to send some images. In this case, it's gonna be one predefined image, which in my case, it's the Coding Spot logo, but you can use any image you want. We're also going to be able to add some emojis, and we're going to be able to type on the input bar, so hello world, and we're going to be able to send it. Now, as I told you, we're not going to be persisting the data, so once I refresh the website, also we're going to be coding this loading screen, which looks just awesome. So as I was telling you, the data or the messages are going to be gone once we refresh the page. So I just want to make that clear before we start coding it, because maybe you're expecting a fully functional WhatsApp application and this is not the case. This is a front-end project. But if you're interested on doing or seeing a tutorial on a fully functional WhatsApp application, let me know on the comments below. However, I think it's pretty cool. This is pretty similar to the dark mode WhatsApp web application. I literally did it with the same dimensions, I did it with the same colors, so I think it's a pretty cool final result. So yeah, let's start coding. Okay, so I'm gonna leave the final result over here, so we're gonna be able to compare it with our new project. So go ahead and open the text editor that you use. In my case, I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code. Okay, so let's start by creating the new React application. So let's open the terminal and let's type npx create React app, and let's type a dot, which means that we're going to create the application inside of this folder. Hit enter and we're going to wait a while. Okay, so once the application has been created, we're gonna have a file structure as the one you can see on the left side of your editor. So we're gonna have a public folder, the source folder, and some other files. So the first thing we wanna do before we start coding the actual application is to delete and modify some of these default files in order to have our initial structure. So let's start by deleting all these things. On the public folder, just leave the favicon and the index.html. Inside the index.html, I like to delete these comments. Also make sure to delete this manifest.json link, because we delete it. And I think that's all. Maybe we can change the title. So I'm gonna name it WhatsApp clone. So WhatsApp clone. And that's all. So go ahead and close the index.html. The favicon, we have the React default logo, but we are going to be changing this. Okay, so inside the source folder, we're going to be deleting some other files. I like to delete the app.css, the app tests, the logo SVG, the web vitals, and the setup tests. So we're going to be left with the app.js, the index.css, and the index.js. So inside the index.js, go ahead and delete this. Go ahead and delete this also. And this is pretty important, make sure the index.css is at the bottom of the import statements. This is going to override any other styles that we install on our application. So I think that's all for the index.js. Inside the index.css, make sure to delete all. We're going to be modifying this file in a moment. And inside of the app.js, we can literally delete all. Well, I mean, not all, but we can delete the div, the container here. And for now, I'm gonna just create an h1 tag that says hello world. We're gonna be changing this, obviously. Here we're gonna have our page component. Make sure to delete that logo import and also the app.css, which we deleted previously. Okay, so that's the initial structure of our project. I like to start with these files. The next step is actually to install the modules that we're gonna be using for this project. So I'm gonna show you the modules that we are gonna be installing. So the first one is gonna be the React Bootstrap. I don't really remember if I used this, but we're gonna install it anyway because we may need it. So go to the getting started section, and right here make sure to copy this line, open a new terminal, and right here paste the line, and we're gonna be installing the React Bootstrap module and the Bootstrap module. Next module that we're gonna be installing, it's called the React Icons. This is gonna be really useful for getting all of those icons that we need for the application. So go to home, and right here, make sure to copy this line. And again, just paste it, hit enter, and wait for it to install. And last but not least, we're gonna be using tailwindcss. So tailwindcss is basically a library that is gonna let us add inline style to our components. So instead of creating a CSS file for a component, we are just adding the inline style that we like. So for example, if we want to add, I don't know, maybe a background, let's see, black, we just need to write on the class name bg black. So it's really useful. It will save us a lot of time, and we're gonna reduce the amount of files of our application. So make sure to go to the installation tab, and right here go ahead and copy these two lines of code and paste it right here, and it should appear the tailwindconfig.js. So go ahead and now copy this, let's see, this, and right here we're gonna paste it. And here we need to specify that we also want to target the JSX, which is React's file extension. Now, if you're working with TypeScript, make sure to add TS and TSX. So I'm gonna add it, but we're gonna be working with JS, JavaScript, and React JSX. So I think that's all for now. We're gonna come later here to add some custom styles. Okay, so we're missing two more things in order to start coding our application. The first one is that I forgot that we needed to include this CSS style from the React Bootstrap inside of our app.js. So right here on top, go ahead and paste that line of code. This one. Okay, so that's the first thing we want to do, and the second thing is that we are going to add the global styles for our index.css. So the first thing we want to do is copy these three imports of Tailwind, paste it on top. So let me put a comment here. This is going to include Tailwind into our application. Okay, so remember I told you that we were not going to use CSS files. Okay, so this is the only exception. In order to target all the things of our application, we're going to use the index.css. This is the only case that we're going to use CSS. For the rest of the styles, we're going to be using Tailwind CSS. Okay, so right here, we want to first import a font, which is called Ravoto. So let's go to Google Fonts. You don't have to do this, but I mean it's prettier with a font, with a custom font than with the default fonts. So search for Ravoto, click it, and make sure to add pretty much all of the possible Ravoto styles, font styles or font weights. Once you have all the Ravoto styles here, click on import and copy the lines that are in between the style tag. So from the add import to this semicolon. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy it, go ahead and paste it here, and right here we're gonna target all of our application. So this is the tag for all, and we're gonna say font family Ravoto, comma sans serif. So if Ravoto is not available, we're gonna use sans serif. We're also going to have a margin 0 for all elements and a padding 0, because we wanna add them by ourselves. We don't want the default margin or the default padding. Okay, we're gonna add some HTML. We're gonna add styles to the HTML tag. So this is gonna be a height of 100% and overflow hidden. We're gonna add some to the body tag. So body, this is gonna be overflow auto, scroll behavior smooth. I'll explain why we need this later on the tutorial. And we're gonna put the width 100% and the height of 100%. Now we wanna target the scroll bar. As we're gonna be scrolling through our chats and through our chat detail, we want to hide the scroll bar because it doesn't look that nice. So we can target scroll bar like : hyphen WebKit, then hyphen scroll bar, and we can put a display none, and this will hide the scroll bar for us. Now we are gonna access the anchor tags. So I want to access all the possible anchor tags. So that is a hover, a focus, a active, and we're gonna apply color inherit, and also text decoration none. So as you may know, anchor tags have a pretty ugly default design. So we're basically telling, okay, remove the blue color, the default blue color, and remove the underline for the anchor tags. And now the last thing we want to do is actually create a myriad query. I'm gonna put myriad queries. I'm gonna explain what this is. So this media query is going to be applied whenever we are working on screens that are greater or equal than 768 pixels wide. So go ahead and type media screen and mean width of 768 pixels. And inside of our media query, we're going to target the HTML tag, and we're gonna type font size 110%. So let me explain. This is basically telling the application that whenever we are working on screens that are wider than 768 pixels, we're gonna be applying, or we're gonna be incrementing the font size to 110%. So as the screen is bigger, we want the font size to be also bigger. That's all. And I think that's all for our index.css. So as I told you, this is the only time we are going to be using CSS. The rest is going to be with Tailwind. Okay, so in order to see if we installed Tailwind correctly, go ahead and target the H1 that we created inside the app component and type class name and let's say text blue 500. So this is a class, this is a Tailwind class. So as I told you, instead of going and creating a CSS file and targeting the H1 to put a text of this color, we can just add a class and that's all. So if it's working correctly, we should see our H1 of a blue color. So we need to run the file, so go ahead and type npm start. And as you can see, let me zoom in. As you can see, we have the hello world, but with a blue text color. So that's how I know that my Tailwind is working correctly. So I can delete this, and that's all. So we have our initial structure and we're ready to start coding the application. Okay, so I know it took some time to have the initial structure of our app, but it's something that we needed to do. Okay, so I'm gonna have the final version right here. So this is how our final result should look like, and we're gonna have here the project, the new project that we're working on. So okay, let's go to our source folder right here. Let's start creating some directories. So we're gonna create a directory for our components. So components. We're gonna also be creating a directory for our pages, which in this case is only the WhatsApp page. We're gonna create a folder for the assets. So assets, here we're gonna save the images of the application. We are going to create one folder called data. Here is where we're gonna sort, for example, the chats. All these is inside the data folder. And lastly, we wanna create a logic folder. So here we're gonna have some, I think it's just one function, just one logic function. Okay. So this is the structure of our application. Make sure you have it at least similar. So we have the favicon, the index, HTML. We have a assets folder, components folder, data folder, logic folder, pages folder, our app component, index CSS, and index JS. So make sure you have this structure or something similar, and we can start coding. Okay, so we're gonna start by creating our WhatsApp page component, but before that, let me explain to you. I'm actually going to put the code here for us to be able to see what we are coding. So yeah, let me explain to you what the structure of the application is going to look like. So we have our page component. So we're literally having all the components inside of our page component. Now inside of our page component, we're going to have two main components: the left menu and this right section, which is the chat detail. So we're gonna have two main components. Now each of these components is going to have a lot of components, right? So in the left menu, we're gonna have, well, a chat component. We're also going to have the chats component, so in plural. We're also on the right section, on the chat detail, we're going to have a message component. So all these things are messages components. What else? We're going to have some bottoms components. So yeah, I just want you to know that the main application, so the main container, is going to have just two main components: the red one, left menu, and the blue one, the right section or the chat detail. Okay, so with that being said, we can start creating our application. So I'm going to create a new file inside our pages folder. I'm going to call it whatsapp.jsx. I'm going to fill it. And the first thing we want to do is actually import it from our application. So our app.js. So this is like the entry point of our application. So we're going to import WhatsApp from the pages folder and the WhatsApp component. And we're going to render it right here. So WhatsApp. Let me do this. WhatsApp. There we go. And as you can see, let me zoom in. We have the WhatsApp component being rendered on screen. Okay, so now we can start coding the page. So, okay, as I told you, this page is going to have two components, but it also has to have, if you remember, the loading screen. So when we refresh the page, we're going to have this loading, a pretty cool loading screen. Now this, we're gonna make that at the end of the video. So I'm gonna leave add to do, saying loading screen component. So we need to do this at the end of the video. So okay, let's start with our main container. I'm gonna call it main container. And this is going to have the following class names. By the way, all the class names that we are gonna use are gonna be Tailwind class names. So if you wanna search, I don't know, for a padding property, you just search for padding and you will get all the class names here. Now you will also get the equivalent in CSS. So that's pretty cool. So I say this because we are using a lot of classes that maybe you're gonna be a little bit lost or you may not know. So make sure to just search it. If we're gonna apply a background, just search for the background properties. For example, the background color, and you can see all the information respect the background color. Okay, so we're gonna start with some classes. So the main container is going to have a W screen and a H screen. This is full width and full height. We're gonna have an overflow hidden. This is because we need the chats to be hidden and we need to scroll on them, as you can see. And right here, we wanna have our two components container. So this div is going to have both the LeftMenu component and the ChatDetail component. Okay, so this container is going to have the following class names. It's going to be a flex. We're going to have a justify start. I'm going to explain this in a moment, but for now just copy and stay with me. We're going to add a WhatsApp breaking point to change this justify start to justify center. I'm gonna explain this in a moment. We're gonna have item center and we're gonna add a background. Now remember I told you I did the work of getting the exact colors, exact dimensions for you to get an exact result. However, feel free to use whatever color you like or whatever dimensions you like. But I'm gonna use the following background. So this is the main background, 111, 821, and that's it. So if I refresh the page, okay, I think I have to put H screen. There we go. So I'm telling the full width, full height, I'm sorry. And as you can see, we have the background. Now inside that container, we're going to have our two main components, and those main components are gonna be inside some divs, so some containers. So we're gonna start with the left menu. Right here we're gonna have our component, which we need to create inside of our components folder. So LeftMenu.jsx. I'm gonna fill it, I'm gonna close it for now, and I'm gonna import it. So import left menu from components left menu. There we go. Okay, so the left menu component is going to have a container with the following classes. We're gonna have the same background as the application, so just copy this one. We're gonna have a min width. So this component is not gonna be smaller than 340 pixels, and it's not gonna be wider than 500 pixels. Now this has to have a full width and full height, and that's all. Now we're gonna do the same with the chat detail. So go ahead and create the chat detail component. I'm gonna fill it. I'm gonna import it. And I'm gonna render it right here, chat detail. So the container of the chat detail component is gonna have the following classes. We're gonna have a different background, which is gonna be 222. Remember to put the hashtag 222 F35. We're gonna have a min width of 415 pixels and a max width of 1120 pixels. We're gonna have a full width, full height, and that's all. Now, as you can see, we can differentiate our two components. So the right one, the chat detail, and the left one, which is the left menu. Okay, let me explain to you what this WhatsApp breaking point is, because we need to create it. So we're gonna go to the tailwind config file, and inside of the extend object, we're gonna create a screens, and this is an object, and we're gonna call it WhatsApp, or however you call it here. So I call it WhatsApp breaking point, WhatsApp BP, and this is going to have a value of 755 pixels. So we're just saying, okay, we are going to have a justify start property, but once we are greater or equal than the WhatsApp breaking point, so 755 pixels, we're gonna apply a justify center. So that's gonna make that our application, when we are on small devices, it's gonna have a justify start, but when we make it wider, as you can see, we're gonna center it. So we have the left menu and the chat details centered on screen. I'm actually going to show you with the final result. So as you can see, we have it centered, but when I do it small, we have it from the start, from the beginning. Okay, so that's what this line of code is doing. And okay, we literally finished with our WhatsApp page component. We are missing the loading screen that, as I told you, we're gonna code it at the end of the video. But for now, our WhatsApp page component is finished. So I'm gonna close it, and we're gonna start coding the left menu. So this is where the chats are gonna be displayed. Okay, so before we start coding, I wanna show you the structure of that component. So we have the left menu, right? And we're gonna have three sections. We're gonna have a nav bar, or a profile nav. We are going to have a search bar with a button here, and we're gonna have our chats. So all these, including the archived button, are gonna be our chats component. This is actually a component, and inside this component, we are going to have the chat component. Okay, so I'm gonna leave these drawings there, and I want you to see the profile navbar. We're gonna start coding this section. So the profile navbar has two sections. which have like a space in between. So this is a justify between flex. So yeah, the first section is going to show us the profile picture, and the second section is going to show us some buttons, 4 buttons. Okay, so I'm gonna leave these drawings there and we can start coding. So this is the main container. So left menu container. Inside we're gonna have the profile nav. We are going to have the search and filter section, and we're gonna have our chat, which is actually a component. So let's start with the profile nav. This is going to be a div, but before we do that, we have to add some class names to our left menu container. So this is gonna be a flex call. Whenever we want the things, or yeah, the section, the children to be one on top of each other, we use flex call. We're going to have a border right, and we're gonna add a color for that border, which is gonna be border neutral 700. We're gonna have a full width, and we're gonna have a height of screen. Awesome. Now we can continue with the profile nav. So this is gonna be flex justify between, as I told you. Item center. It's going to have a background, which is gonna be in hex, and it's gonna be 202D33. We're gonna give it a specific height of 60 pixels and a padding of 3. So as you can see, we can see the profile nav bar being displayed. And now inside the profile nav container, we're gonna add the image. So this is the profile picture. And we're gonna have our profile nav buttons. So this is a container also. Okay, so we're gonna start creating the buttons, and then we're gonna add the image. But before we create these buttons, I want you to see the following. So I'm gonna choose green to show you. As you can see, we have these 4 buttons, but we also have these 2 buttons, and we also have these 3 buttons down here. So what I want to say with this is that we are going to use those buttons a lot of times. So we're gonna use the same button. Obviously we are changing the icon, but the button itself, we're using it a lot of times. So that means that we can create a component for the buttons. So inside of our components folder, I'm gonna add a new folder, and we're gonna call it common. And this is where we are going to create the common components. So the components that are going to be shared by all the application. So inside here, I'm gonna name it rounded BTN. I'm gonna create it, and I'm going to import it. So import rounded BTN from common rounded BTN. Awesome. So the rounded BTN is going to be a button, of course, and it's going to have the following class names. So we will have a text color, which is gonna be 8796A1. We're going to have a text XL, P2, rounded full. We're going to have a hover effect, and we're gonna target the background on that hover, and the background is gonna be 3C454C, and we are also going to have an onClick function. So as this is a button, we need an onClick function. Why? Because some of those buttons, for example this one, are going to have functionalities. So we need an onClick function. Where does this onClick function comes from? From our props. So if you haven't worked with props, let me explain. Think of this component as a function, because it's literally a function. So we can receive some parameters, which are called props. So for this specific component, we're going to receive an icon prop, because as you can see, all buttons have different icons, but we're also going to receive an onClick prop, because buttons with functionalities are going to have different functionalities. So yeah, that's basically what props is. So we're gonna put the icon here. So inside of our button, we want to render the icon that we're gonna send. Okay, so we finished with our rounded button component. Now we can use it. So I'm gonna use it right here. We're gonna use it 4 times. Now nothing is being displayed, obviously, because we need to send the icon. But let's start by adding some class names to our container. So this is gonna be flex justify between, and we're gonna have a width of 175 pixels. Whoa. Okay, so in order to send the icons, the icon prop, we're gonna get them from our React icons library, which we installed at the beginning of this video. So for example, if we want to, for example, render this people icon, we can search for people, and we can copy whatever icon we want. We can literally import it. So we can import, we paste the icon from React icons, and we're gonna put the first 2 letters of the icon. So in this case, it's gonna be from /md. And now I can pass that icon as a React component, so something like this, and I'm going to paste it on all these components. So now if we see our application, you can see we have 4 of these people or group icon. Now of course we want to change these, so we're gonna use 4 different icons. The second one is called TV circle dash. You can search for whatever icon you like the most, but I have these ones as my predefined icons. This one is gonna be called BS fill chat left text fill. Oh my god, left text fill from BS, which is bootstrap, and this HI dot vertical icon, which comes from the HI library. So I'm gonna copy and paste the icons in order. So I'm gonna save, and as you can see, we have our buttons being displayed on screen, and they look just awesome. Now we're not sending the onClick prop, because these buttons are not going to have, well, any functionality, but as I told you, feel free to add any functionality you want. Okay, so we finished the profile nav buttons. We can go ahead and add the profile picture. So once I finish this tutorial, I'm going to upload into my GitHub the repository of the project. So when you're seeing this video, you can download the repository and use the images that I used. Now this is optional. You can use whatever images you want, but this will save us a lot of time. So it's basically, I'm gonna give you an example. This is another repository of my chess AI, but you'll find the link for the WhatsApp clone on the description below. you can click on the code and download the project as a zip file, and then just go to the assets folder and you'll find an images folder and just copy it. I already did it, so I'm gonna paste it right here. I'm gonna name these images, and I'm gonna add a new file called whatsapp.js. So inside of this file, I'm going to import all images and I'm gonna export them. This is gonna save us a lot of time in the future. You can do the same. You can copy the file that you're gonna find on the repository and you can paste it right here. So I already copied it. I'm gonna paste it from the original project. And as you can see, the file should look something like this. So we are importing all images from, let me change this name, from our images folder, and then we are exporting them. So this will save us a lot of time. So I'm gonna start importing some images. I'm gonna import the profile picture image from assets and the WhatsApp file, not the folder. And we're gonna put this profile picture inside the source of our image. So as you can see, we managed to import the image correctly, but obviously we need to add some class name because it's too big. So this is gonna have a class name of rounded full because we want that image to be a circle, and also we want it to have a width of 40 pixels. So as you can see, we have our profile picture, and this looks just awesome to me. And we finish with the profile nav container. So as you can see, the final result, we have exactly the same profile nav container. Awesome. Let's continue with the search and filter container. So this is gonna be a div. And we're gonna add some class names. So we're gonna add a flex justify between. We're gonna add item center also. We're gonna add a specific height of 60 pixels. And we're gonna add a padding of 2. Now inside of this container, we're going to have an input and we're gonna have a button. Now I know we created the rounded button component, but this specific button is gonna be a little bit different, so we are gonna use just a normal button. So this is a filter button, and this is the search input. Okay, so we're gonna add some properties to our input. So we're gonna add a placeholder, which is gonna be search or start a new chat. And we're gonna add some class names. So this is gonna be rounded large. We're gonna add a lot of class names for this input to look nice. So stick with me. We need rounded large. We need a background, which is gonna be 202 D33. We're gonna add a text color 8796A1. It's gonna be text small, font light, outline none. We need some padding 2, px4. So actually we can just type px4 and py2. We want a width of 400 pixels, a height of 35 pixels, and we want to target the placeholder. So the placeholder is gonna have the same text color that we have here. So I'm gonna copy it. I'm gonna paste it here. Also, we're gonna target the font size, so that will be text small, and we wanna target the placeholders font weight, so that would be font light. And that's all for our input. So as you can see, we changed from an ugly input to a pretty nice search bar right here. Okay, now let's do the filter button. So this button is going to have the following class names. We're gonna add text to Excel. We're gonna add also some margin 2, some padding, so padding 1. We're gonna make it rounded full, and for now we're gonna leave it like this, and we're gonna add an icon here. So the icon, we need to import it. It's gonna be called B filter from the BI library, and we're gonna use it inside of the button. So I don't know if you can see it, but it's right here. We need to add some other styles, but before that I wanna add a React hook. Why? Because this button is going to have a logic. It's going to have a functionality. So when we are working with logic, we're most likely to use React hooks. So I'm gonna import the use state hook. If you haven't worked with hooks, don't worry. I'm gonna try my best to explain them. So in order to create a use state, and by use state, just think of it as a local variable. So we're going to have a local variable inside of our LeftMenu component. That local variable in this case is gonna be if we are filtering the chats or we're not filtering the chats. So this is gonna be a Boolean value. I'm gonna call it filter. So when you create a use state, you have the name of the local variable, which in this case is filter, and you have a set function. So in this case is set filter. Now inside of the use state, we're gonna put the default value, which is false, because we don't have any filter yet. And right here, we're gonna start adding some logic. So let me put this right here for you to see. So we're gonna add inline JavaScript, and in order to do that, we need to add these curly braces with these quotation marks. And right here, we can put the $sign with more curly braces, and right here we can type JavaScript. So we're gonna do the following. We're gonna ask, okay, do we have a filter applied? If that's true, we want the background, because let me show you. If I apply a filter, it turns green, right? But if I don't have a filter, it's a normal bottom. So if we have a filter, we want to have a BG Emerald 500 with a text white, with a rounded full, with a hover BG text Emerald of 700. I'm sorry, this is BG Emerald 700. Now, if this is not true, so if the filter is not being applied, we want to have the following classes. We want to have a text color of 8796 A1, and a hover BG of 3C 454C. So now, as you can see, our button changed. Obviously, if I click it, nothing is gonna happen because we haven't added the onClick logic. But if I change this filter variable or state to true, this is gonna appear green, as you can see. Awesome. So I'm gonna leave it false. And now we need to apply the logic or code the logic that is gonna change the filter value. So we're gonna add an onClick function here. So we're gonna write it like this, and we're gonna set our filter. So we're using this set filter function, and we're gonna make it the opposite of what we have. So if filter is true and we click it, then it will be false. If filter is false and we click it, then it's gonna be true. So I'm gonna show you. As you can see, it's working perfectly. Awesome. So we finished with the filter button, and now we can actually render our chats. So all these, the blue component, all that. I'm gonna make it green, this one. So for that, we need to create a new component. It's gonna be called chats.jsx. We are going to import it. So import chats from chats, and we are going to put it here, chats. We're just calling the component, and I think we can close the LeftMenu component because we have finished. Now we're gonna send to this chats component our filter. So this chats component is gonna have a prop filter, and it's gonna receive our state filter. Okay, so I can close this, and we can start working on the chats component. So as I told you, this is gonna receive a prop which is called filter. Now the chats component, let me show you, is going to have two sections. So I'm gonna delete these drawings. I'm gonna show you. This is the chats component. So we're gonna have the archived, this is the first section, and then we're gonna have like literally the chats that we want to render. So each of those chats is gonna be a chat component. So all of these things are chat components, which we will need to create also. So yeah, we can start coding the chats component. So this is chats main container, and right here we want to have the archived container, and we want to have the chats. So the archived container is going to be a div, and the chats is going to be a map function for every chat we have. I'm going to go into detail when we start coding it. So let's start adding some class names to our main container. So this is going to be flex call. We're going to add an overflow y hidden. Scroll, because we want to scroll through all the chats, right? And we want to add a cursor pointer, because we want to make the illusion these are, well, actually working chats, right? Need to add, I think, the height, so h100, and now we can start coding the archived container. So this container is going to have the following class names. It's gonna be a flex justify between, has to be item center. We are going to have a W100 and a mean height of 55 pixels. We're gonna add a padding in the x-axis of 3. And we're gonna make a hover effect targeting the background with the color of 202D33. So as you can see, if I hover here, we have our archived section. Okay, so inside the archived container, we're gonna have another container which is gonna have the icon and the archived text. And then we're going to have a p tag, which is going to have the number of chats archived. So I'm gonna put a comment number of archived chats, and this is icon and text container. So this container is gonna have the following class names. It's gonna be a flex justify around, item center, and a width of 150 pixels. Now here we're going to have the icon, so I'm gonna create it inside a span tag, and here we're gonna have our h1 tag that is gonna say archived. So this is the icon, this is the archived, and we need to import the icon. So the icon is gonna be im folder download, and this is from React icons /im. We're gonna put it here, and that icon is going to have some class names. So it's going to be a color of text emerald 500 and text large. And if I save, we should see the icon right here. Awesome. Now the h1 of the archived is also going to have a class name of text white, and that's it. Awesome. Now we're gonna do the p tag, so I'm gonna put 7 archive chats, and we're gonna add the class names of text emerald 500, text xs, and a font light. So as you can see, we have our archive chats section ready. Awesome. So the next thing we want to do is actually render the chats. So we're gonna render all these chats, this is scrollable section of the chats. So in order to do this, we need to add some data to our application. So we're gonna create a script called whatsapp.js. You can find it on the repository if you wanna copy paste all the data. I'm gonna paste it from the original project, and you will get a file as the one you can see on screen. So let me explain. Here we are importing all the images. I have to change these to images. And we have 2 lists. We're going to ignore the messages data for now, but we have this chats data array. This chats data array is going to contain all the chats objects that we need to render. So a chat, and let me put the final version here. I'm going to draw a chat. I'm gonna take this one. A chat has an image. It has a contact name. It has a last message. It has an hour, and some of them have a unread messages. Okay, so our chat object is going to have the profile picture, the contact name, the message, which is the last message, the time, and the unread messages. Now, unread messages can be either null or it can be a number. If it's null, it means that the chat, for example, in the one of the coding spot chat, it has been opened or it has been sent, right? Either of those. Now, if it has unread messages, so for example, the one of Tom, we can see that we have the number of unread messages right there. This is important because we're gonna need to change the text color depending on this. We're gonna see if we render the circle or not depending on the unread messages, right? So that's the structure of a chat. That is a chat object. Now you can use my default chats, but you can also custom them, obviously. So that is the chats data array. We're gonna see these messages data later in the video when we code the ChatDetail component. Okay, so for now I'm gonna import them. So I'm gonna import the chats data, and this is from the data folder on WhatsApp script. Oh, okay, I have a problem here. It's not images, it is WhatsApp. It's from the script, remember, not the folder. Okay, so we have the chats data. In order to use the array, we're gonna save it in a local variable that I already explained how to do it. So we're gonna use a useState hook for that. So I'm gonna name it chats. We have our setter here, and this is a useState, and the default value here is gonna be the chats data. So this. Now, in order to render the chats, we're gonna use a common pattern using React, which is the map pattern. So we're gonna access our state. So it will be chats.map. We're gonna name this is a variable. You can name it however you want, but we're basically telling, okay, loop for each chat inside of the chats array. I want to return the following, and it will be the chat component that we haven't created. So we need to create this component. So inside of the components folder, I'm gonna put chat.jsx. I'm gonna import it. So we import chat from chat. And now, if you see closer, we have the component, the chat component being rendered. And this is gonna render the amount of chats that we have on our chats data array. Okay. So now we need to go to this chat component and we need to start, well, designing or styling a chat component. So first of all, we're gonna receive some props. So what does a chat need? We need an image. So a profile picture. We need a name. We need a message, a time, and the number of unread messages, right? So we need a profile picture. We need the contact name, the message, the time, the unread messages, and I'm gonna add something called active. I'm gonna name it active. So this active is gonna make that our first chat on the list has this hover that you can see on screen. So I know in reality you can choose any chat you want, like I can make this chat active, but as you know, we're not doing this WhatsApp fully functional, so we're gonna use the first chat as the one that is active. Okay, so this is the main container. So chat container. Inside the chat container, we're going to have the profile picture, and we're going to have a info container, which is basically the rest of the things. But inside of this container, we're going to have two containers. So one for the contact name and message, and the other one for the time and the number of messages. So time and number of messages. So these are gonna be also some divs like this. Okay, the profile picture is going to be an image. So the source of the image is going to be the PP, the prop, and the description can be something like profile picture. Okay. Okay. Before we continue coding the component, I wanna send the props, right? So I'm gonna send the props from here. So a chat has a pp which is equal to the chat.pp, and as you can see, it works. So obviously we need to apply some in-style classes, but it's working. Now let me explain. This chat.profile picture comes from the data. So each of these objects has a property called profile picture or pp. So we're basically looping for each chat on our array. We need to send the prop of profile picture to be equal to that specific chat attribute of profile picture. So we're gonna do pretty much the same with all the rest of the things. So contact is gonna be equal to chat contact. What else do we have? Message is gonna be equal to chat message. Time and read messages, and we need to put the active. So active is going to be equal to, and I'm going to add a counter here. So I is going to be an index. It's going to be a counter that automatically increments when we loop all the chats. So we're going to ask if I is the first chat. So if I is the first chat, this will be true, else it will be false. Awesome. Now we can go back to our chat component. Here we have a warning, I don't know why. Oh, the set chats. Okay, we're gonna be using this function later, so don't worry. Okay, in the chat component, we can add a class name for the images, and these are gonna be rounded full with a width of 50 pixels. They look quite big, but you'll see they will adjust to our component later. Okay, let's add some classes for the info container. Oh, by the way, the image has to have a margin right of 5 because we need to push this container to the right. So this is gonna be a flex, justify between. We're gonna give a border top with a color of border neutral 700. We're gonna take full width, full height, and a padding Y of 3. And as you can see, they start to look much nicer. Awesome. Now this container is gonna have the following class names. It's gonna be a flex call, justify between, and a text white. And right here we want to have h1 for the contact, so the prop contact. This is going to have a class name of font medium, so we're making it a little bit more bold. Okay, we're having a bug here. Oh, I'm sorry, and this is because we haven't added the classes for the chat container. So this container is adding all the children like on top of each other, and we don't want that, so we need to add a flex here. So let's add some classes. So it will be flex, justify between. I'm sorry, I forgot to add these classes. This will be item center. We're gonna have a cursor pointer to give the illusion that these are actual chat buttons. W100, we're gonna have a height of 85 pixels. Padding X of 3, and we're gonna have a hover effect. Target the background to 202D33. So now you can see the chats are being displayed correctly. We're missing something here, which is the following. I'm gonna change this class name. I'm gonna add these things in order to add inline logic. And the inline logic is gonna be, we're gonna ask if we are the active chat, we can add a background, and the background is gonna be pretty much the same as the one of the hover. If we are not active, just leave it as default. And as you can see, Coding Spot, which is the first chat, is going to have that active hover permanently. Okay, we can continue. We were here, so we have the font medium contact name. Now we need to add the message. So this is the message. This is a message prop, and we're gonna add the following class names. By the way, this class name is also going to have some logic, so make sure to use the curly braces. So we're gonna have a text small for all chats, and then we're gonna apply the logic. And the logic is gonna be the following one. So as you can see, if we have an unread chat, like the one on Tom, the text is white, right? But if it's already read or we sent it, so in other words, unread messages is null, we want this like gray color. So we're gonna ask, okay, are we not unread? So in other words, is unread null? So if it's null, we want to add the text neutral, and let's use 400. If not, we want to go with the default text color, which is text white, as you can see here. So that will make this look like this. So pretty good. We have the unread chats with the white font, white text color, and the null unread chats with the gray color. Awesome. Okay, I think I'm gonna add a little bit of margin to the contact name. So right here, let's add a margin button of 1 maybe. Yeah, I think that looks, yeah, much clearer. Awesome. Okay, now we can go ahead and code the time and number of messages container. So we're gonna add a class name. As always, this is a flex. It's gonna be a flex call with justify between items end, because we want this to be at the end of the chat component. Full width, full height, I'm sorry, and the text is gonna be XS, so smaller. Let me actually put some comments here. So this is the contact name, and this is the actual message. And right here we want to have the time, and we want to have the number of messages. Awesome. So the time is gonna be a p tag, and this is gonna be time, the time prop. We're gonna have a class name of text emerald 500 and a mean width of 55 pixels. So as you can see, we can see here the time, pretty nice. Now the number of messages. So we want to ask, okay, we just want to render the number of messages if we are actually unread. So unread messages, and this. So this is a common React pattern. So this is telling, okay, if this is true, render the next thing here. If this is false, or in our case null, this will not be rendered. So right here we want to render a div. The div is going to have a class name, which is flex justify center item center bg emerald 500 rounded full. This is the circle. The width is going to be 20 pixels and the height is going to be 20 pixels. And inside of the circle, so as you can see, we have the circle there. Awesome. Inside of the circle, we're going to put a p tag with the actual unread messages. And this is going to be, or have a class name of text emerald 900 because we want it to be dark. And that's it. Awesome. So as you can see, we have our chats being rendered on screen, and this looks awesome. Like, in my opinion, this is pretty similar to the original WhatsApp web application. So pretty nice. We're missing the filter function, and I think that's all. We're just missing that, and we finish with the left menu component. So let's go ahead and do the filter function. We can close the chat component. We already finished. So inside of the chats component, we're gonna apply the logic. So we're gonna use a use effect hook. I'm gonna explain what these, well, the functionality of the use effect. So we're gonna use it here, use effect. This receives a function as a parameter and a dependency array. So let me explain what this is. So use effect, you can think of use effect as a function, and this function is gonna be called each time whatever we put inside the dependency array changes. So in our case, each time our filter state, which is a prop, changes, we want to call this function. Why? Because we want to re-render the chats. So we're gonna do the following. We're gonna create a new constant called new chats, and this is gonna be equal to the following. So we're gonna ask, okay, is the filter active or is the filter true? If it's true, we want to do something. I want to leave it blank for now. If it's not true, that means that we do not have a filter applied, and we can just set the new chats to be equal to the chats data. Now, if it has a filter, however, we're gonna do the following. We're gonna do chats data dot filter, which is an iterator, a JavaScript iterator. So we're gonna loop each chat of the chats data, and we're gonna return the chat dot unread messages. So let me explain. So the filter is going to loop for each chat of the chat's data, and it's going to return an array. And this array is going to contain those chats on which this expression is true. So in our case, if the unread messages is a number, this is going to return true, and this is going to add it, the filter iterator is going to add it to the array. However, if the unread messages is equal to null, this is going to return false, and it's not going to add it to the array. So that will definitely filter our chats, and that's why it's called filter, right? So okay, now once we have the filter chats or the new chats, we can set our local variable, our use state, to the new chats. And I think this should work. So I'm gonna test it. Awesome. As you can see, if this is active, it's gonna filter the unread chats only. But if this is inactive, we are going to see all the chats. Awesome. Pretty cool. So yeah, pretty much I think we finished with the left menu component. Feel free to add new functionalities, like for example these bottoms. You can add some functionalities. You can actually add the functionality for searching a specific chat or message or whatever you want. You can add the functionality for the archive chats. So yeah, feel free to do whatever functionality you want to do. But yeah, I'm going to continue with the chat detail, so the right section of our application. Okay, so I want to show you the structure of the chat detail component. So this is the component. We're gonna have three main sections. We're gonna have these that we can call it, I don't know, maybe the contact nav. Then we're gonna have the messages. So all this is the messages container. It's gonna be where we can scroll and we can send messages. This is gonna be the most complex like component or section of our application, of course. And the last whole section is gonna be this one, like the bottom section where we can send messages, send images, emojis, and so on. So our chat detail component is gonna be divided into three main sections, and yeah, of course each section, or not each section, but the messages section is going to have the message component. So here we're gonna have these messages, and each message is gonna be a component. So all images, links, and normal messages are gonna be a message component. Okay, so with that being said, we can start coding our chat detail. So we're gonna first work on rendering the component, and then we're gonna work on the logic. So we're gonna be using hooks. We're gonna use the use state, use effect, and use ref for this component. This is the most complex component of our application, but you'll see it's not that hard. But as I told you, we're gonna start by styling all of the chat detail section. Okay, so I'm gonna add a comment. This will be the chat detail main container. Inside the main container, as I told you, we're gonna have three sections. So we're gonna have the contact nav. We're gonna have the messages section, and we're gonna have what I call the bottom section, where we can send the messages. Okay, they're all going to be containers, so divs. What else? Okay, we can start adding some classes to our main container. This is gonna be a flex call, and we need it to be age screen. Now we're gonna continue with the contact nav. This is gonna be flex, so it's gonna be a class name of flex. Justify between, a background that is gonna be 20 2D 33. We're gonna give it a specific height of 60 pixels and a padding of 3. So we're not gonna be able to, oh no, actually we're able to see it. I thought it was the same background as we had here, but as you can see, we have the nav bar, the contact nav. Okay, awesome. Now inside the contact nav, we're gonna have two sections. So we're gonna have like the info, the contact info, and we're gonna have the buttons, right? We're gonna start with the buttons, which is pretty simple. This is gonna be a container, and we're gonna have a class name of flex justify between, item center, and width of 85 pixels. Right here we want to import our rounded BDN component from the common folder. We're gonna put it here, so rounded BDN component, and we need 2 of these. We're now gonna import the icons. So first icon is going to be MD search from the React icons /MD, and we wanna import also the HI dots vertical from the HI library. So I'm gonna copy these. Icon equals to a new React component, which is the icon. There we go. So we can now see it here. We need to change the second button. Once we do the contact info, these buttons are gonna be at the end, so don't worry. We're not sending any on click because those buttons are not going to have any functionality. So let's continue coding our contact info container. So this is gonna be flex item center. Inside we're gonna have more sections. So we're gonna have the image and the info, right? So profile picture, this is an image. We can actually convert this to a component because we have been creating a lot of profile pictures, but okay, you can do it if you want it. And here we're gonna have the info. So this is gonna be a container. And as you can see, both buttons go to the right because we have a justify between on our contact nav container. Okay, let's import the profile picture, which in my case is gonna be the CS1, the coding spot logo. This is from the assets images. No, I'm sorry, assets WhatsApp. We're gonna put it here. CS1 profile picture. There we go. We need to add some class names, so we want it to be rounded full in case you're using a square image. We want to add 40 pixels of width, 40 pixels of height, and a margin right of 5. There we go. We have our image. I think I'm going to increase this to 45 maybe. Yeah, awesome. Now the info container is going to have the following classes. So it's gonna be a flex. It's gonna be a flex call because we need to have two things here. We need the name, the contact, and we want the status. Let's call it a status. So the contact is going to be an H1. So in my case, it's gonna be coding spot. I'm going to hard code this value, but you can send it through props and, well, receive a specific chat, right? But for me, it's gonna be something static. This will not change, so I'm gonna go with coding spot. Also, by the way, make sure the contact that you're talking to is the one that's active on the left, right? So okay, this is gonna be coding spot, and this will have a text white and a font medium, and the status is gonna be a p tag with the status online and a class name of text hashtag A796A1 and text XS. Whoa, XS. So as you can see, it looks just fine. This is awesome. And I think we finished with the contact nav. So I'm gonna close the contact nav container. Pretty nice. I think we're gonna leave the messages section for the end. So I'm gonna continue with the bottom section container. Okay, so this is gonna be a flex item center. Background is gonna be hashtag 202D33. We're gonna have full width, height of 70 pixels, and a padding 2. Now inside the container, we're gonna have some sections. So we're gonna have the emoji button. So emoji BDN. We're gonna have the upload BDN. We're gonna have the input bar, and we're gonna have the mic or send BTN. So this is gonna be both. Why? Because at the beginning it's gonna be a mic, but once we will type, it's gonna convert into the send button. So pretty cool. So these are our sections. We're gonna start with the emoji button. So this is gonna be a rounded BTN. This is the importance of custom components. We can reuse it. The icon is gonna be one that we need to import, that it's called BI happy. And we need to import these. So BI happy from BI/BI. What else? This one will have an on-click function, but for now we're gonna leave it like this. We're gonna implement the logic at the end. Okay, by the way, we have the bar being rendered here because the messages section does not have a width. So does not have a height, I'm sorry. So let me add it. I'm just going to type H100, and this will take, as you can see, all the width that's being like not used. Because this is really important, you need to specify a height for the bottom section and a height for the contact nav. That way, when we type H100, the messages section is gonna take the rest of the space, and now we can have the bottom section at the bottom, obviously. So okay, the bottoms, we're gonna add the logic at the end, as I told you. So let's continue with the upload button. This is gonna be a span. This is gonna be inside a span, but it's gonna be a rounded BTN. And the icon is gonna be AI outline paperclip. On the span, we'll have a class name. Here we have to add some margin to the right. Armor2, and we're gonna import this one also from the AI library. And as you can see down here, we now have two bottoms. Awesome. Let's continue with the input bar. Again, we're gonna implement the logic for this bottom at the end. So we're gonna create an input. As the inputs are pretty ugly, we need to include a lot of classes, as we did with the search bar. So we're gonna start with the placeholder, and these will have type a message. We're gonna add some class names. So this will be BG hashtag 2C39443 I'm sorry. We need it to be rounded large, outline none, text small, text neutral 200, W100, height 100. We're gonna give it a padding X of 3, and we're gonna target the placeholder styles. So the text will be small. The placeholder color will be 8796 A1. And now if I save, you can see the input, and this was misspelled. This is rounded, and now we can see the input bar. Awesome. Now if we type, as you can see, the text is a little bit more clear than the actual placeholder. Nice. Okay, now we're gonna implement the last button. So this is gonna be in between a span with a class name of ML2. I like to put this margin because these buttons are the ones that are being like close to the input, so I want to leave a margin between them. That's why the upload button and the mic or send button have this margin. We need to do some logic here, but for now I'm gonna render the mic. So rounded btn icon equals, and it's gonna be bs fill mic fill. Make sure to import these bs from bs. Now we're gonna import also the send. It's called md send, and we already import from md, so we can put it here. So md send, there we go. I'm gonna do both to see them. So here we have md send. Okay, so as you can see, obviously this is not being rendered correctly because we're always going to have just one icon. So for now we're gonna have the mic icon. So I don't know if you can see it. There you go. So there we have the mic icon. Okay, we need to implement the logic for these buttons, but before we do that, we are going to render the messages section. So we're gonna have some classes. For the container, this is going to be actually not a flex. We want to have some background. So the BG is going to be 0A131A. This is a dark background, as you can see, so pretty nice. You can leave this, or you can leave the background image. So of course I'm gonna use the background image because it's much cooler, right? So we need to type bg hyphen, we open these brackets, and inside we'll put URL, and inside we're gonna put assets / images / bg.webp. I'm getting this from the folder, okay, not from the file as we used to do. I'm getting it from the folder, directly from the folder. And as you can see, we have this awesome background. Now it's too big, like too zoomed, so let's change that with bg contain. There we go. Nice, awesome. And we want to put the overflow property, so overflow y scroll, because we want to scroll through our messages. And we're gonna add a padding y of 3. Now I'm gonna add for this container, so let me do this, an inline style. So style, I'm doing this because Tailwind does not support like percentage padding, and I want to add a padding with percentage, so I'm gonna use inline style, and it's gonna be 0 and 7%. Actually it has to be this one, so py it's 12 pixels. So I'm gonna actually erase this, and I'm gonna put 12 pixels and 7% for the x-axis. Now here we want to do the same as we did with the messages. So we want to do the pattern of mapping the messages, but we first need to import them. So import messages data from data WhatsApp. So now we can okay, we need to create our variable also. So use a state. This is the same thing we did with the chats, so don't worry. So const messages, set messages, and this is a use state of messages data as a default. Nice. Now we can loop through the messages state. So messages dot map. So for each message, and I'm actually using MSG, we want to return a message component that we need to create. So I'm going to create it, message.jsx, fill it, and we want to import it. So import message from I think, where is it? Here, from message. And now we should see the messages. Of course, this needs to have, well, we need to add the props, we need to add the inline styles, but as you can see, they are being rendered. So pretty good. So let's continue. So let's start by adding some props to the messages, so to the message component. So what do we need in order to render a message? Well, we need the message, like the text. We need the time. We need the following. Let me show you. So I'm gonna delete these. There are some messages. So I'm gonna explain to you. There are three types of message. We have the normal one, right, which is just text. We have the links, which are actually anchor tags, and we have the images. There are three types of components inside the message component. Okay, so this is the first one, this is the second one, and this is the third one. So we need to somehow identify those, well, type of messages. So I did it in the following way. If it's an image, we're gonna receive an image. So if it's only a text, we are not sending an image, and this will be equal to null, or in other words, it will be equal to false. Now for the links, I'm using isLink, which is a boolean. I'm actually going to put isLink first, then the image. So if we send an image, it is because it is an image. And we're going to have this boolean value called sent. Why? Because there are going to be two types of messages again. The ones that we send, which are going to be like in green, and the ones that we received, that are going to be like in gray, in a gray container. So let me go here. Okay, so let's continue with the render. So we're gonna add a class name for the message container. So message container. This is gonna be flex justify center. Item center, rounded MD, W fit, margin Y of 1, and we're gonna do an inline logic. So we need to change our quotation marks for the curly braces. So let me add them. There we go. Here we're gonna do some logic. So if it's sent, let me actually hit enter here, ask if the message is sent. So if it's sent, we want to make the background a little bit like something green, as I show you. So 005 C4B. If it's not sent, we want it to be like special bluish color. So this will be BG hashtag 202 D33, and that's all. So let's test it by showing, I don't know, maybe hello. So we should see some hellos. Are we setting the send? Oh, because we are not passing the props. So let's actually pass them. So, okay. Same as we did with the messages, with the chats, we're gonna do it here. So message is gonna be equal to the message.message. Because remember, this is an object, not the actual message. Time is gonna be equal to the message time. Is link it's gonna be this is link. Image is gonna be equal to the message image, and the sent, it's gonna be equal to the message dot sent. By the way, I haven't shown you the message object. So this is the messages object. It's an array, and each message is gonna be like this. It has a message, it has a time, it has the boolean value if it's being sent or not, and the images, for example, are gonna be like this. So we have the image. I think we don't need this property. We have the time of the image, and we have the sent, the boolean value, and the links have this property of isLink, right? So again, you can custom your messages, but I'm gonna go with those. So, and of course you can add more things. Like I only added the text message, the image message, and the link message, but you can add more things like videos or I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna go to our message component, and as you can see on the right, on the chat detail, we have the messages being displayed with the respective color. So green is if we send it, and gray if we receive it. Okay, nice. So right here, we're gonna ask if we have an image. So if we have an image, we need to do something. But if it's not an image, we want to do another thing. So if it's an image, we want to render a div with the following class names. Class name is going to be relative, you'll see why, W100 and P2. Right here we want to have the image, and we're going to have the time. Because as you can see, an image is an image and a time, right? So the image source is gonna be the image. This is gonna be image message, something like that. Okay, I'm gonna add this H1 for now because we're having a problem there. We need to add something. Okay, you can see the image. Now obviously it's too big because we haven't added the class names. So we need it to be rounded MD. We're gonna put a max width because we don't want to have it too big. So max width of 270 pixels and W100. There we go. Awesome. Now the P is gonna be the time, but we need to make this absolute, as you can see, because we want the time to be on top of the image. So we're gonna add an absolute class, and that's why we need this parent container to be relative. We're gonna put right 2, bottom 3. We're gonna put the text color 8796A1. We're gonna put the text size, this will be 10 pixels. And the mean width of this is gonna be 50 pixels. There we go. Now you can see the time being rendered on top of the image. This is awesome. Pretty awesome. So we finished with the image. Now let's say I want to add a new message. Let's say this is gonna be an image. So I'm gonna copy the image object. Where is it? I don't see it. Oh, is this one? So I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna paste it here to see the green image. Right here. I want to paste it here. And I'm gonna refresh, and it's not being. Oh, because I want to put it false, of course. I want to refresh. Okay. Oh, so this has to be true. Oh my god. Let me refresh. Oh my god, that was the error. Okay, my bad. So it's actually working. Let me refresh. Yeah. Okay, so it's actually working. As you can see, the images that we are sending are with this green background, and the images that we receive are with the gray background. So we pretty much finished with the image. I'm gonna put a comment here. Image message. Right here, I'm gonna put time. I'm gonna put image here. There we go. Nice. Okay, we now can continue with the text. So this one is gonna be text message, and the text can be either link or normal. Okay, so this is gonna be a div. We need to change this to a div, and we're gonna add the following classes. So class name, we want to have a flex justify between items end, max W 410 pixels, and a padding of 2. We're gonna add, oh, this is a div now. We are going to add an inline style also here, because we need to target a property that Tailwind does not have, and it's called word break. This is gonna be equal to break word. I'll explain what this is. So this is, for example, in this case where we have this long link, the actual word is going to break once it reaches like the limit. So we want that, because if not, if I didn't put that property, this wouldn't break. So we'll have a message like pretty long. We don't want that. So that's what this word break does. And now inside of this container, we'll ask if we're talking about a link again, or if we're talking about a not a link. So for now, I'm gonna add a not a link h1 and a link h1 for you to see. As you can see, we see not a link, and when we send the link, you can see it right here. Awesome. So let's actually now code the link. So this is gonna be an anchor tag. Anchor tags have to have an href, and the href is gonna be the message itself, because the message is a link, right? Let me put this here. We're gonna put target blank. This is gonna open a new a new tab when we click on the anchor tag, and we're gonna add some class names. So we're gonna add text 53 BEEC. On hover, we want to have the same color. On focus, we want to have the same color, and we have to do all these because inside of our index CSS we target all of these. So the normal anchor tag, in hover, in focus, and active. So we want to target them again here to override all of those things. So this one will be active. And then we can start adding some other, like text small, underline, on hover underline, and this should work. Also, we need a margin right for this of 2, and inside of the anchor tag we're gonna put the message, of course. So as you can see, I'm sending the GitHub, my GitHub link, and my YouTube channel link. So okay, if it's not a link, so we're gonna go inside of these brackets. We're gonna have a p tag with the message and with the following classes. So class name, text white, text small, and a margin right of 2. So there we go. And last, we need to add the time, right? Because we're just seeing the messages, so we need to add the time. So we're gonna go outside these, like if statement. We're gonna add the p with the time, because we always, it doesn't matter if it's a link or not, we want to have it, we want to have the time. Let me actually put some comments. So this is link, and right here, let me see, right here we have the normal text. There we go. So this is the time. We can already see it. We need to add some styles. So there will be text hashtag 8796A1, text of 10 pixels, and a mean width of 50 pixels. It is actually the same thing that we did here, but without the absolute. Okay, I think that's all for the time. There we go. So you can see the messages with the time. This looks pretty good, but I'm having a problem with the GitHub link. What is this F? Maybe I added. No, I don't know what's happening. Okay, I need to fix that. I don't know what's happening. We have the, oh, did I put an F here? Oh my god, yeah. Oh my god, that was a problem. Okay, so we finished with the normal text and the link, but as you can see, all messages are being are appearing on the left side of our container. So we need to change that. So let me close. We're gonna close all these. We're gonna go to the main container, and right here we want to put the following. So if we send it, it should be at the right of our screen, of our container. So we need to apply ML auto. There we go. Now if we receive it, MR auto, and that's all. Literally that's all. So if we stretch it, this works, and there's a point, should be a point that the messages should not get smaller as you can see with the with this link. And yeah, awesome. Okay, so I'm actually going to delete the message that I created. I think it was this one. What's the image? Let me reload this. Awesome. Yeah, nice. Now we're gonna continue with the logic. I think we finished with the message component. We can close this. We're gonna continue with the logic of the functionalities, I mean, so the emojis, images, and sending messages. But before that, I want you to see that, well, for example, the links actually work. Here I can go to my GitHub, and here I can go to my YouTube channel. So pretty cool. Okay, let's start doing the logic. So we're gonna start by importing some hooks. So we have the use state, we need the use effect, and we need the use ref. Nice. Okay, let's start by actually sending a message, which is the hardest thing. So let's do it. So we're gonna create a ref for our input bar. So let me explain what a ref is, but for now let's create a new variable called input ref equals use ref, and this is gonna be null as default. And now we search for our bottom section right here, input bar, and we're gonna add a ref property, and this is gonna be input ref. Now by default, all HTML elements or React elements have this ref attribute, so you don't have to worry like for creating this ref attribute. And what this means is that we are referencing in this case the input bar, so we can access it through this ref. So for this ref I can do something like input ref dot something that's called current, and this will give me the actual input, like HTML element. This will give me the input HTML. It's pretty easy to access using refs. Okay, so I'm gonna now create a new state called typing. Remember, states are like local variables, so I'm gonna call it typing. We're gonna add the set typing function, and by default it will have a value of false. Now why do we want this? Okay, so down here I told you that, let me show you the final version. When we are not typing, when this is empty, we have the mic icon. Now if I type something, hello, this is gonna be a send button, right? So pretty cool. How can we do that? Okay, so I'm gonna uncomment this empty send icon that we had, and this is gonna be pretty easy. We're gonna ask if we are typing, we can send this one, and if we are not typing, oh, it's this one is the MD wait, yeah, it's the MD send, so MD send should go here. If we are typing, it should go the MD send. If we are not typing, we should render the mic. Now how do we know if we are typing? Okay, so inside of our input we're gonna add an onChange function. We're gonna call it handle input change. So this is a function that we need to create. I'm gonna create it right here. So functions, so const handle input change. This is gonna be a function, and we're gonna check if the input ref, I'm gonna do it in one line. So input ref dot current, so we are accessing the HTML element, then we can access the value property. So this is the actual text. So if I write, for example, hello, input ref dot current dot value is gonna be equal to hello. Okay. So we wanna see if the value length is actually greater than 0, or we can do it with 0. So if it's 0, it means that we are not typing, or in other words, that the input is empty. So we are going to set the typing to false. Now, if it's greater than 0, we can set typing to true. Okay, so let me recap. Each time the input bar changes, like each time we type something, it will call this function. Now, this function is going to verify if we are actually typing, so if we have something typed on the bar or not. And then right here, this is gonna re-render depending on the value of that typing. So let's see if it works. I'm gonna actually zoom in a little bit. So if I type, for example, hello, you can see this changes to the send button. Now if I erase, it changes to the mic. So pretty cool. That's the first logic we had to do. Now let's actually send the message, right? Because I can type, but this button is not doing, well, anything. So let's actually send the message. So remember that our component rounded button had this onClick prop. Well, we're gonna use it. So onClick, we're gonna send a function which is gonna be handle message send or something like that. I'm actually gonna call it handle submit, handle input submit to be more specific, handle input submit. So in other words, if we are sending a message, so I'm gonna create it right here. And before we code this function, okay, we had a problem. Oh, okay, this has to be obviously outside the icon. There we go. Before we code the handle input submit, I want to create a new function called add message. So we're gonna receive a message as a parameter. This has to be an object, and it has to be an object as the one we're creating in our data file. And once we have this message, we can actually copy that message into the array of messages. So we're gonna create a new messages array, and this is gonna be our array of messages that we currently have. This is the way you do it in React or in JavaScript. You copy what you have and then you add the new one. So we add the message. Once we have this object or this array of new messages, we can set the messages to equal to the new messages. Nice. So inside the handle input submit, the first thing we want to do is add a message. So we're gonna send a new object, new message object. So the message is going to be the input ref.current.value. As I explained to you, this is equivalent to access the text of the input bar. Now we need to send a time. So if we see the data, and remember we are sending a text message, so we need a message, we need a time, and we need a send. So time, I'm gonna make this null for now. and send. This is going to be true because we are sending it, right? Now time, we're going to create a new function called getTime. And this function, well, you can do it inside of your ChatDetail component, but I like to do it on my logic folder. So I'm going to create a new WhatsApp.js script because we are going to be using this function, I think 2 times. So we want to export const the function. So getTime. And this is, well, not a long function, but I prefer to have it separately from the component. So we're going to return a new date to local string. We need to put this, and right here an object with the hour in numeric and minute in numeric and hour 12 set to true. And once we have that, so to lowercase. Why? Because this object is going to return something like AM or PM, but we want it in lowercase. So we're exporting it and we need to import it. So import getTime from the logic folder WhatsApp. Let me see. So this is not a we need to put the curly braces, I think. Yeah. Okay, nice. So we are calling the getTime function. Send is equal to true, and once we add the message, we want to do 3 things. So the first one is to clear the input ref. So input ref dot current dot value is going to be equal to an empty string. We want to focus the input ref. So input ref dot current dot focus, and this is a function. So like this, focus is basically, it's gonna tell our application that once we send the chat, it will automatically focus again the input bar. So pretty nice feature. And we want to set typing to false because we're gonna have an empty, well, string, right? And that's all. So now I should be able, let me zoom in a little bit. I should be able to send messages. So hello world. Awesome, guys. Okay, we're having some bugs. I'm gonna explain them. First is that we're not like going down with the new messages. We can fix that pretty easy. And also, I think that's the only bug. So let's fix that. It's not actually a bug, it's that we haven't implemented. So we're gonna use our useEffect function or hook, and we're gonna say each time messages array changes. So remember, the dependency array is gonna tell us when do we want the useEffect to be called. So each time the array of messages changes, because we're adding a new message, we want to do something. So before that, I'm gonna create a new ref called bottom ref. This is a pretty nice trick, and we're gonna put, let me see where, right here after the messages mapping, we want to put a div, empty div, like literally it can be one tag div with a ref of bottom ref. Okay, now each time the messages changes, we want to access the bottom ref dot current. We're gonna put these question mark, and we're gonna put scroll into view, and inside of here we're gonna send an object I'm actually going to do this like this with a behavior of scroll. No, not of scroll, but smooth. We don't need the semicolon, and behavior like this, and this should work. So basically this will tell the application that each time we add a new message, because our messages array is changing, like just scroll into the view of this bottom ref, which is at the bottom of the messages, as you can see, and do it smoothly. That's all. So let's see. I'm gonna add a new message. Awesome. As you can see, we are scrolling down with the flow of messages. So pretty nice. Now I want to do another thing with useEffect. I want to show you what. This one will not have an array dependency, a dependency array, and we want to do the following. We want to, because let me show you. For now we're just sending the messages with this button, but I also want to be able to send it with the enter keyboard, right? So we're gonna add an event listener to our document. So add event listener. First param is the event, so key down. Second param is a function that I'm gonna call listener. Now, as we are inside a useEffect, and this can be called plenty of times, we need to like remove it each time we add it. So document.remove key down with the listener. So we add it and then we remove. This is to avoid having like a lot of events, like avoid having a lot of listeners. So right here I'm gonna create the function listener. This is going to receive E as parameter, which stands for event, and we want to check if the event.code, which is going to be a key, is equal to enter. If that's true, we're going to handle the input submit. We're going to call this, well, this function. Now there is a problem with this, I think. Let me see. Yeah. And we can send empty messages. So in the handle input submit, we want to check if the input ref.current.value.length is greater than 0 in order to apply all of these. Now we shouldn't be able to send empty messages, but we are able to send other type of messages. And as you can see, well, I can do it with the enter keyboard, and it's much more easier, because imagine to send a message like with one button. That would be so annoying. Nice. Okay, so we're missing two more things, which are the logic for the emoji button and the upload button. So emoji button, we're gonna add a onClick handle emoji click. So let's go ahead and create that function right here, const handle emoji click. And this is going to be pretty simple. We're just going to add to our input ref, so input ref.current.value plus equals. And okay, I'm gonna do it pretty simple. You can do it much more complicated than this, but I'm just going to add the fire emoji because I like it. But you can add a random, you can have an array of emojis, you can have actually a component to choose an emoji from. But as I told you, I'm gonna do it pretty simple. I'm just adding the fire emoji. So if I click on it, you can see that, we get this fire emoji. Now, also I want to focus the input ref, so input.current.focus. So if we click it, it's focused. There we go. Nice. What else? Okay, we're missing one more thing, which is the, what was it? The upload right here. So on click, handle image upload. This is a function. I'm gonna do it right here. Again, you can do this much more complicated. I'm gonna do it pretty simple, a default image. I'm sending a default image and that's it. So I'm just going to call the add messages, but with an image object. So remember, an image object is something like this. I'm literally sending this. So my image is gonna be CS2, which I need to import it. Time is gonna be get time function, because this will give us the actual time, right? And send, this is gonna be true. And I think that should work. Let me refresh, zoom in, and awesome. And as you can see, the time, where it's actually the 5:25 p.m. So it's actually working. So I can send the images that I want. Again, this is pretty simple. You can complicate it much more if you like. You can choose an image from your current directory, but I didn't want it to complicate too much because this is a front-end project. So this is pretty nice. We can add some emojis, also these. Awesome. Now obviously once we refresh, they are gone because we are not persisting our data. And we have finished the chat detail, guys. So we'll literally finish the page. We're missing the loading screen, and that's all. So let's actually go to our page, WhatsApp. So remember, we had this to do, loading screen component. Let's go ahead and do it. Pretty simple component, so don't worry. LoadingScreen.jsx, and so let me actually show you the loading screen. I'll actually take a picture, a screenshot of it to have it. So I'm gonna put it here. Oh, I can't. Okay, I'm gonna leave this image here in order to, oh my god, I can, okay, I'll leave it here. So we're gonna be doing this loading screen. Okay, oh, I cannot have it, I have to have it here. I'm sorry. Okay, so we need a main container, and this is gonna be a flex call, justify center, item center, because we want to have all at the center. We're gonna have a background which is 111.821, W screen, H screen, and inside of this container we're gonna have two sections, the icon, so the WhatsApp icon, and the loading bar and text. There we go. So the icon is gonna be inside of a span in order to apply some classes. Icon is gonna be BS WhatsApp. So let's go ahead and import these. from React icons /bs, and we're gonna add some class name to it. So this is gonna be text 3D464A, text 6XL, we want it to be big, and a margin on the y-axis of 12. And that's it. Now here we're gonna have a div, which is gonna be a flex call, item center, also justify evenly, and a height of 150 pixels. Now inside of this container we want to have the loading bar section, and we want to have the text section. So this is going to be a div. We're going to do first the text section, then we're going to go back to the loading bar. So this is a flex call item center, and we're going to have the WhatsApp name. So this is a p tag or h1, whatever. We're gonna put WhatsApp. So we're doing this. We're doing this. Then we're gonna do the progress bar. So actually I'm going to show you how. This is the container, this is the icon, and this is the other container, which is going to have two sections, the bar and the text, and the text is going to have two sections, the WhatsApp, and this container, which is gonna have also two sections, which is an icon and a text. So okay, this is gonna be a class name of text hashtag C1, C6, C9, text large and font light. Font medium. We want to do it like bold. And as I told you, the text is gonna be a container, and this container will have a span with the icon. So this is the lock icon, and this is the text. So text, actual text. So the lock is gonna have a class name of text small and margin right of 3. We want to push this text to the right, and the icon is named Falloc. So we want to import it. Falloc from FA. And the text, it's gonna be end to end encrypted. Now we need to put some properties to this container. So it has to be a flex, justify. Or actually not justify, we can use just item center. And we're gonna put the color of the text to be equal to 687782. So both things are gonna get the same color. What else? I think we're done. Okay, we're missing the loading bar. So this is gonna be pretty simple, because the loading bar is actually gonna be a React Bootstrap component. So let me show you. If we go to React Bootstrap, we can see, if we go to components, And if we go to progress, you can see we have those progress bar, so we don't have to do it actually. So this is pretty cool. I'm gonna actually copy. I'm gonna copy from this one, the green one. So right here, and I wanna paste it right here. Also, we need to import it, so make sure to copy the import line and paste it right here. Now it's gonna tell us where the bar is actually at. So this has to be dynamic. So if you see the final result, the bar is actually moving or giving the illusion that it moves. That's why this has to be dynamic. So this has to be a prop. I'm gonna call it progress. So this is a prop that we are gonna receive from the page component. Because remember, this is the progress of the page component loading, right? So that's why we need to receive it from them. This obviously is not going to be real. This is just like an illusion. But okay, it looks pretty nice. The class name, we need to add some class names because we don't want the default background color. We want actually one that is 24, 31, 38. We want it to be rounded LG with a width of 320 pixels and a height of 3 pixels. There we go. So now, if we go to WhatsApp, I'm gonna delete this. We're gonna use a local variable, so you guess it, use a state. Why? Because we wanna save two things. The first one is progress. So this is what we are gonna send to the loading screen component. So use a state, this is gonna be 0 at the beginning, and we're gonna have a second use state which is loading and set loading, and this is equal to true. Because at the beginning we want the page to load. Now, so we have this main container. This is actually the main app container, but we want to do the following. I'm gonna open this, like these tags, empty tags, and we're gonna inside of these ask, okay, are we loading? Because if we are loading, I want to render the loading component, which we have to import. So loading screen from components loading screen. So if we are loading, we want to render the loading screen. Now if we are not loading, we are gonna render the main app container, that it's pretty much the entire application. There we go. So as you can see, we have our loading screen. Of course we need to send a progress, and that progress needs to change dynamically. Okay, so how are we going to do that? We're gonna use effect. So use effect. So we're gonna call the use effect each time the progress changes. So we want to do this with a certain delay. So we don't want the bar to load immediately. We want to have a delay, right? That's the illusion. So we're gonna use the set timeout. This is something that you will pass a function and then a time in milliseconds. So each, I don't know, maybe 300 milliseconds, we're gonna have this function being called. So I want to do the following. First, we're gonna check if the progress is greater or equal than 100 in order to set loading to false, because that means we already load. Else, so if we are below 100, I want to create an increment, and this is going to be a math.floor random times. So you can play with these numbers, but mine will go from so maximum we can increment 10. This is like a general formula, so this is the maximum, and then at the end you can put the minimum. So I want an increment, a minimum increment of 3. So I'm telling, okay, each 300 milliseconds we're gonna increment our progress bar from 3 to 10 points. Okay, so that means that we can take a 10 and that will increment faster, or we can take a 3 and that will increment like slower. They will make these this will make the illusion that is actually random and not linear. And we're gonna set the progress to the actual progress plus the increment. So I know it might be a little bit confusing. If you don't want to overcomplicate, you don't have to do the screen. It actually worked. Yeah, come on, look at that. Nice. So I'm gonna do a recap if you didn't understand. So the set timeout function is gonna be called every 300 milliseconds, and also the use effect function, which is like the big one, it's gonna be called each time the progress bar changes. Okay. Now, okay. So the function, the set timeout function, we are checking if the progress is greater or equal than 100 to set the loading to false. But if we are below 100, right, we need to increment it. So how do we increment? We're gonna do a math.floor, math.random, and this is the maximum number here plus 1 plus the minimum number. So basically we're gonna increment our progress from 3 to 10 points on each iteration. So every 300 milliseconds we're gonna increment from 3 points to 10 points, and we set the progress to that, and at the same time the loading screen is gonna be getting this progress, which is the one responsible of rendering like how far the progress bar is being painted, right? And as I told you, once the progress is greater or equal than 100, this the loading variable is going to be false, and hence we are going to render the main app component. Now I also want to clear this timeout because I don't want to like continue doing this. So I'm gonna do this const ID, because the timeout function is going to return you an ID, and then we want to return the clear timeout. So this is a common pattern. I mean, if you search it, you find a lot of information for this pattern. You have a timeout which returns an ID, and then you have to clear it. So clear timeout ID, and this should work just fine. Awesome. Yeah, and this has much more sense. It's much more slower. So it was happening that this was being called like a lot of times, but we want to be called each 300 milliseconds. Maybe this is actually too slow, so make sure to play with it. Maybe the minimum should be 7 or something, and this should be faster. Yeah, of course. Awesome. So I think that's pretty much all for this video. Oh, and I almost forgot the Favicon. So we want to change, if you can see here on top, we want to change the React Favicon for an actual WhatsApp Favicon, right? So I'm going to delete this file, and I'm gonna actually take the WhatsApp PNG logo. And I think I'll take this one. So yeah, you can find these image also when you download the GitHub repo. So I'm gonna save this image, and we want to save it on the public folder as a favicon.ico. I want to use ico. Okay, so here we have it. So now we should see the WhatsApp icon. There we go. So now it is actually fully complete. Our application is fully complete now. So yeah, it was quite long, but I think the final result, I mean, deserves all the time and effort that we put into it. This can be a perfect project to add to your portfolio. Actually, this is a project that I have on my portfolio, so that's why I'm giving you guys this tutorial. And yeah, as I told you, let me on the comments below if you're interested on doing a fully functional WhatsApp. We can try to add a backend and some other functionalities to this project. So yeah guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.